Townsend Press presents from the Bluford series of books, Lost and Found. Written by Anne Schraff and read by Shayna Walker.
Chapter 1. Darcy Wills winced at the loud rap music coming from her sister's room. My rhymes were rocking, MCs were dropping, people shouting and hip-hopping. Step to me and you'll be inferior, 'cause I'm your lyrical superior. Darcy went to Grandma's room. The darkened room smelled of lilac perfume, Grandma's favorite. But since her stroke, Grandma didn't notice it, or much of anything. "Bye, Grandma," Darcy whispered from the doorway. "I'm going to school now." Just then, the music from Jamie's room cut off, and Jamie rushed into the hallway. "Like she even hears you," Jamie said as she passed Darcy. Just 2 years younger than Darcy, Jamie was in 8th grade, though she looked older. "It's still nice to talk to her. Sometimes she understands. You want to pretend she's not here or something?" "She's not," Jamie said, grabbing her backpack. "Did you study for your math test?" Darcy asked. Mom was an emergency room nurse who worked rotating shifts. Most of the time, Mom was too tired to pay much attention to the girls' schoolwork, so Darcy tried to keep track of Jamie. "Mind your own business," Jamie snapped. "You got 2 D's on your last report card," Darcy scolded. "You want to flunk?" Darcy did not want to sound like a nagging parent, but Jamie wasn't doing her best. Maybe she couldn't make A's like Darcy, but she could do better. Jamie stomped out of the apartment, slamming the door behind her. "Mom's trying to get some rest," Darcy yelled. "Do you have to be so selfish?" But Jamie was already gone, and the apartment was suddenly quiet. Darcy loved her sister. Once, they had been good friends, but now all Jamie cared about was her new group of rowdy friends. They leaned on cars outside of school and turned up rap music on their boomboxes until the street seemed to tremble like an earthquake. Jamie had even stopped hanging out with her old friend Alicia Roble, something she used to do every weekend. Darcy went back into the living room where her mother sat in the recliner sipping coffee. "I'll be home at 2:30, Mom," Darcy said. Mom smiled faintly. She was tired, always tired, and lately she was worried, too. The hospital where she worked was cutting staff. It seemed each day fewer people were expected to do more work. It was like trying to climb a mountain that keeps getting taller as you go. Mom was 44, but just yesterday she said, "I'm like an old car that's run out of warranty, baby. You know what happens then? Old car is ready for the junk heap." Well, maybe that hospital is going to tell me one of these days, "Maddie Mae Wills, we don't need you anymore. We can get somebody younger and cheaper." "Mom, you're not old at all," Darcy had said, but they were only words. Empty words. They could not erase the dark, weary lines from beneath her mother's eyes. Darcy headed down the street toward Bluford High School. It was not a terrible neighborhood they lived in. It just was not good. Many front yards were not cared for. Debris, fast food wrappers, plastic bags, old newspapers, blew around and piled against fences and curbs. Darcy hated that. Sometimes she and other kids from school spent Saturday mornings cleaning up, but it seemed like a losing battle. Now, as she walked, she tried to focus on small spots of beauty along the way. Mrs. Walker's pink and white roses bobbed proudly in the morning breeze. The Houston's rock garden was carefully designed around a wooden windmill. As she neared Bluford, Darcy thought about the science project that her biology teacher, Miss Reed, was assigning. Darcy was doing hers on tidal pools. She was looking forward to visiting a real tidal pool, taking pictures, and doing research. Today, Miss Reed would be dividing students into teams of 2. Darcy wanted to be paired with her close friend, Brasana Meeks. They were both excellent students, a cut above most kids at Bluford, Darcy thought. "Today, we are forming project teams so that each student can gain something valuable from the other," Miss Reed said, as Darcy sat at her desk. Miss Reed was a tall, stately woman who reminded Darcy of the Statue of Liberty. She would have been a perfect model for the statue if Lady Liberty had been a black woman. She never would have been called pretty, but it was possible she might have been called a handsome woman. "For this assignment, each of you will be working with someone you've never worked with before." Darcy was worried. If she was not teamed with Brazana, maybe she would be teamed with some really dumb student who would pull her down. Darcy was a little ashamed of herself for thinking that way. Grandma used to say that all flowers are equal, but different. The simple daisy was just as lovely as the prize rose. But still, Darcy did not want to be paired with some weak partner who would lower her grade. Darcy Wills will be teamed with Tara Carson, Miss Reed announced. Darcy gasped. Not Tara. Not that big, chunky girl with a brassy voice who squeezed herself into tight skirts and wore lime green or hot pink satin tops and cheap jewelry. Not Tara who hung out with Cooper Hodden, that loser who was barely hanging on to his football eligibility. Darcy had heard that Cooper had been left back once or twice and even got his driver's license as a sophomore. Darcy's face felt hot with anger. Why was Miss Reed doing this? Hakeem Randall, a handsome, shy boy who sat in the back row, was teamed with the class blabbermouth LaShawn Appleby. Darcy had a secret crush on Hakeem since freshman year. So far, she had only shared this with her diary, never with another living soul. It was almost as though Miss Reed was playing some devilish game. Darcy glanced at Tara, who was smiling broadly. Tara had an enormous smile, and her teeth contrasted harshly with her dark red lipstick. Great, Darcy muttered under her breath. Miss Reed ordered the teams to meet so they could begin to plan their projects. As she sat down by Tara, Darcy was instantly sickened by a syrupy, sweet odor. She must have doused herself with cheap perfume this morning, Darcy thought. Hey, girl, Tara said. Well, don't you look down in the mouth? What's got you looking that way? It was hard for Darcy to meet new people, especially someone like Tara, a person Aunt Charlotte would call low class. These were people who were loud and rude. They drank too much, used drugs, got into fights, and ruined the neighborhood. They yelled ugly insults at people, even at their friends. Darcy didn't actually know that Tara did anything like this personally, but she seemed like the type who did. I just didn't think you'd be interested in tidal pools, Darcy explained. Tara slammed her big hand on the desk, making her gold bracelets jangle like ice cubes in a glass, and laughed. Darcy had never heard a mule bray, but she was sure it made exactly the same sound. Then Tara leaned close and whispered, Girl, I don't know a tidal pool from a fool. Miss Reed stuck us together to mess with our heads. You hear what I'm saying? Maybe we could switch to other partners, Darcy said nervously. A big smile spread slowly over Tara's face. Nah, I think I'm going to enjoy this. You're always sitting here like a princess, collecting your A's. Now you got to work with a regular person, so you better loosen up, girl. Darcy felt as if her teeth were glued to her tongue. She fumbled in her bag for her outline of the project. It all seemed like a horrible joke now. She and Tara Carson standing knee-deep in the muck of a tidal pool? Worms live there, don't they? Tara asked, twisting a big gold ring on her chubby finger. Yeah, I guess, Darcy replied. Big green worms, Tara continued. So if you get your feet stuck in the bottom of that old tidal pool and you can't get out, do the worms crawl up your clothes? Darcy ignored the remark. I'd like for us to go there soon, look around. My boyfriend Cooper, he goes down to the ocean all the time. He can take us. He says he's seen these fiddler crabs. They look like big spiders, and they'll try to bite your toes off. Cooper says so, Tara said. Stop being silly, Darcy shot back. If you're not even going to be serious. You think you're better than me, don't you? Tara suddenly growled. I never said, Darcy blurted. You don't have to say it, girl. It's in your eyes. You think I'm a lowlife and you're something special. Well, I got more friends than you got fingers and toes together. You got no friends. Everybody laughs at you behind your back. You know what the word on you is? Darcy Wills gives you the chills. Just then the bell rang, and Darcy was glad for the excuse to turn away from Tara, to hide the hot tears welling in her eyes. She quickly rushed from the classroom, relieved that school was over. Darcy did not think she could bear to sit through another class just now. Darcy headed down the long street towards home. She did not like Tara. Maybe it was wrong, but it was true. Still, Tara's brutal words hurt. Even stupid, awful people might tell you the truth about yourself, and Darcy did not have any real friends, except for Prasanna. Maybe the other kids were mocking her behind her back. Darcy was very slender, not as shapely as many of the other girls. She remembered the time when Cooper Hodden was hanging in front of the deli with his friends, and he yelled as Darcy went by, "Hey, is that really a female there? Sure don't look like it. Looks more like an old broomstick with hair." His companions laughed rudely, and Darcy had walked a little faster. A terrible thought clawed at Darcy. Maybe she was the loser, not Tara. Tara was always hanging with a bunch of kids, laughing and joking. She would go down the hall to the lockers and greetings would come from everywhere. "Hey, Tara. What's up, Tara? See you at lunch, girl." When Darcy went to the lockers, there was dead silence. Darcy usually glanced into stores on her way home from school. She enjoyed looking at the trays of chicken feet and pork ears at the little Asian grocery store. Sometimes she would even steal a glance at the diners sitting by the picture window at the Golden Grill restaurant, but today she stared straight ahead, her shoulders drooping. If this had happened last year, she would have gone directly to Grandma's house, a block away from where Darcy lived. How many times had Darcy and Jamie run to Grandma's, eaten applesauce cookies, drunk cider, and poured out their troubles to Grandma? Somehow, their problems would always dissolve in the warmth of her love and wisdom. But now, Grandma was a frail figure in the corner of their apartment, saying little, and what little she did say made less and less sense. Darcy was usually the first one home. The minute she got there, Mom left for the hospital to take the 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock shift in the ER. By the time Mom finished her paperwork at the hospital, she would be lucky to be home again by midnight. After Mom left, Darcy went to Grandma's room to give her the malted nutrition drink that the doctor ordered her to have 3 times a day. "Want to drink your chocolate malt, Grandma?" Darcy asked, pulling up a chair beside Grandma's bed. Grandma was sitting up, and her eyes were open. "No, I'm not hungry," she said listlessly. She always said that. "You need to drink your malt, Grandma," Darcy insisted, gently putting the straw between the pinched lips. Grandma sucked the malt slowly. "Grandma, nobody likes me at school," Darcy said. She didn't expect any response, but there was a strange comfort in telling Grandma anyway. "Everybody laughs at me. It's because I'm shy, and maybe stuck up too, I guess. But I don't mean to be. Stuck up, I mean. Maybe I'm weird. I could be weird, I guess. I could be like Aunt Charlotte." Tears rolled down Darcy's cheeks. Her heart ached with loneliness. There was nobody to talk to anymore. Nobody who had time to listen. Nobody who understood. Grandma blinked and pushed the straw away. Her eyes brightened as they did now and then. "You are a wonderful girl. Everybody knows that," Grandma said in an almost normal voice. It happened like that sometimes. It was like being in the middle of a dark storm and having the clouds part, revealing a patch of clear, sunlit blue. For just a few precious minutes, Grandma was bright-eyed and saying normal things. "Oh, Grandma, I'm so lonely," Darcy cried, pressing her head against Grandma's small shoulder. "You was such a beautiful baby," Grandma said, stroking her hair. "That one is gonna shine like the morning star. That's what I told your mama. That child is gonna shine like the morning star. Tell me, Angel Cake, is your daddy home yet?" Darcy straightened. Not yet. Her heart pounded so hard she could feel it thumping in her chest. Darcy's father had not been home in 5 years. "Well, tell him to see me when he gets home. I want him to buy you that blue dress you liked in the store window. That's for you, Angel Cake. Tell him I've got money. My Social Security came, you know, and I have money for the blue dress," Grandma said, her eyes slipping shut. Just then, Darcy heard the apartment door slam. Jamie had come home. Now she stood in the hall, her hands belligerently on her hips. "Are you talking to Grandma again?" Jamie demanded. "She was talking like normal," Darcy said. "Sometimes she does, you know, she does." "That is so stupid," Jamie snapped. "She never says anything right anymore, not anything." Jamie's voice trembled. Darcy got up quickly, and set down the can of malted milk. She ran to Jamie and put her arms around her sister. "Jamie, I know you're hurting too." "Oh, don't be stupid," Jamie protested, but Darcy hugged her more tightly, and in a few seconds, Jamie was crying. "She was the best thing in this stupid house," Jamie cried. "Why'd she have to go?" "She didn't go," Darcy said. "Not really." "She did. She did," Jamie sobbed. She struggled free of Darcy, ran to her room, and slammed the door. In a minute, Darcy heard the bone-rattling sound of rap music. Chapter 2. "You still up?" Darcy's mother asked when she got home. "I couldn't sleep." Mom settled into her recliner. "I need to sit down and catch my breath, baby, before I shower and go to bed. What a night we had. 2 boys in critical from drive-bys, a 4-car accident on the freeway, a broken neck, plus the usual fevers and chest pains, and then we had a memo from our new administrator. Seems like we're wasting money." Darcy hoped she might get the chance to talk to her mother about problems at school and maybe about Jamie's attitude. Darcy went to get some hot chocolate for them, but by the time she returned, her mother was dozing. "Mom?" Darcy asked softly, but Mom's even breathing continued. She was exhausted. Darcy didn't have the heart to rouse her. There was so much Darcy wanted to talk about. When Mom was 16, was she popular at school? What do you do when you're a loner and you can't seem to break out of it? And Jamie. She was worried about Jamie. A few times, Darcy saw her riding in a car with some boys from Bluford. Jamie was only in middle school. Those older guys scared Darcy. Some were gangster wannabes. One of them, Bobby Wallace, had already been in trouble with the police for something or other. Once, last week, Darcy had tried to talk to her mother about Jamie, but Mom just said, "Oh, she'll be okay. She's at that age when kids try to rebel and take things to the extreme. I was lucky with you, praise the Lord. You never went through that phase, Darcy. Your sister is a different story. Y'all have always been different as night and day. But Jamie's a smart girl and she'll come out of this phase pretty soon." Darcy drank down her hot chocolate and rinsed out the cups. Then she headed for her room. She sat on the edge of the bed for a few minutes, staring at photographs on her dresser. Mom, Grandma, her, and Jamie. There had been older family photographs with Dad included, but they were all hidden away, somewhere. Darcy remembered the last photo taken with Dad. It showed 11-year-old Darcy in braids and blue ribbons, wearing a lovely blue dress with a lacy collar, and Jamie, 9, her big brown eyes bright with mischief. That was taken a few months before Dad left. It had been harder on Jamie than on Darcy when Dad left. Darcy was closer to Mom, but Jamie was Daddy's little girl. They went to basketball games together and just seemed to have a companionship that Darcy never had with her father. On a family hike in the Laguna Mountains, Jamie and her father chose a special tree, a giant cedar. One day they stood by their tree, and Dad dubbed Jamie Princess of the World, surprising her with a tiny crown for her head. Jamie's squeals of joy had echoed through the forest that day. "Why did Daddy leave us?" Jamie had demanded tearfully when it was clear he would not be coming home. "Leaving was more fun than staying," Mom had answered bitterly. Darcy always suspected her mother had seen some warning signs, but to Darcy and Jamie it had been a complete shock. Jamie made up stories for a long time after, trying to explain why her father had left. She had shared them with Darcy. Daddy had a terrible disease, and he did not want to burden his family with it. He had some secret government job that was so dangerous he couldn't risk being around his family anymore. But eventually, even Jamie had laughed at her own fantasies. She had grudgingly accepted her mother's simple explanation. Daddy had found something else that meant more to him than his family. Darcy remembered it was about then that Jamie slowly began to change, to have angry, sad moods, to be cynical. Darcy went to bed, but she did not sleep for a while. She relived her last meeting with her father when he took her and Jamie for ice cream on a hot August afternoon. Darcy later figured it was the best way he could manage to say goodbye. Darcy and Jamie were just little girls, so they didn't question his heavy step, the way his jaw was set. They were too busy deciding between chocolate chip and strawberry ice cream to pay attention to his odd mumbling. Nothing ever happens around here, except I'm getting older. He talked about being a teenager in New York and what a happening place it was, about the jazz clubs and dancing until dawn. Man grows too fast around here, he said. Gets dead before they put him in the box. The day Dad left, he kissed Darcy, then kissed and hugged Jamie so hard that she giggled and protested. After putting the girls on a trolley home, he had turned and walked away faster than Darcy had ever seen him walk before. Darcy didn't think about it then, but now she figured he walked away so quickly because he knew what he was doing was wrong. The faster he walked away, the sooner he could escape the truth that he was abandoning his wife and daughters. Darcy forced herself to stop remembering and finally fell asleep. In the morning, she dreaded the thought of going to school and seeing Tara. Darcy pondered different ways of handling the problem. Finally, when she walked into class, she just sat beside Tara and said briskly, "Hi, you said your boyfriend could drive us to the tidal pool. When could he do that?" Tara was sketching in her notebook. To Darcy's surprise, she was drawing pretty horses prancing across the pages. "Saturday afternoon," Tara said without looking up. "That'd be good," Darcy replied, still staring at the sketches. "I didn't know you drew stuff." "I do lots of things you don't know about," Tara said in a testy voice. "Those are good drawings," Darcy said. "Why you being so nice, girl?" Tara demanded. "I'm not, I'm just... My mama says when folks who used to look down their noses at you start being nice, look out. They butter you up, then they stick you in the oven," Tara said. "That's the kind of thing my Aunt Charlotte would say," Darcy blurted out. "She's suspicious of everybody. She has a good job and she's saving her money and she means to be the only one spending any. And she lives alone to make sure of that." Tara was silent for a moment, as if she was surprised at how honest Darcy was being. "I wouldn't want to live by myself," she said. "It'd be too lonely." "My grandma is the opposite of Aunt Charlotte. She says it's worth it to have friends, even if once in a while somebody does you wrong. She says love is worth it even when it hurts." Darcy could not believe she was sharing something so personal with Tara. She had never shared family stuff with anyone, not even Prasanna. For lunch that day, Darcy and Prasanna met at their usual spot. They liked it under an oak tree where it was shady and secluded. "Poor Darcy," Prasanna said as she pried open her container of yogurt. "How can you stand working with that dumb fat girl?" Darcy wished Prasanna would not make fun of Tara, but she kept her thoughts to herself. "I'm making the best of it." "Miss Reed stuck me with Lori Sampson. What a fool. And she has that terrible case of zits, too. I think Miss Reed resents pretty girls 'cause she's so plain looking. Can you imagine what she looked like when she was a teenager?" Prasanna rocked back, laughing. "Cooper Hodden is driving me and Tara to the tidal pool on Saturday," Darcy said. "Oh, Darcy, you're riding with that loser?" Prasanna cried, almost dropping her yogurt. "I never ride with him. I mean, Cooper is just the kind of fool who would date somebody like Tara Carson." Darcy munched on her apple. Prasanna rarely had anything nice to say about anybody. Darcy remembered sitting with her many times while both of them talked bad about other kids. That girl dressed like she wore clothes from a thrift store, and that boy's breath smelled of garlic. And what stupid answers they gave in class. It seemed fun at the time, but now Darcy wondered if that was what she really wanted to do anymore, day after day. Prasanna leaned back in the grass, smiling. "Guess what? Hakeem Randall thinks he's got a shot at being valedictorian in 2 years. Hakeem, he stutters for crying out loud." "Only when he's really nervous," Darcy said in a small voice. She had never told Prasanna about her crush on Hakeem. He was bright, cute, and sweet, but very, very shy. "Yeah, right. Can you just imagine how much that boy would stutter if he was valedictorian? He would just stand there looking stupid because he'd be so nervous. Everybody look at him and say, 'What a fool.'" Darcy glanced at her watch. "Oh, I gotta get some books from the library before next period," she said. "See you later, Darcy, and good luck with the pig girl," Prasanna said, gathering her books. Darcy wanted to say, "Please don't call her that. It really bothers me when you call her that. I mean, I don't like her or anything, but just don't call her a pig girl." But Darcy instead said, "Yeah, see you later." Darcy was in the school library searching for books on tidal pools when she heard a familiar voice. Bobby Wallace was with a friend on the other side of the bookshelves. Darcy drew closer without the boy seeing her. "How'd you get a hold of that CD, man?" the other boy asked Bobby. "Got me a girl who'll do anything for me, you hear what I'm saying? She in the store and I say, grab me that. And she will, 'cause she do anything I ask, see? She crazy about me, you hear me?" Bobby boasted. "Don't she get caught in nothing?" the other boy asked. "Nah, man, she's smooth. Besides, that fool's so busy with another customer, he don't see nothing. I pipe the tune and she dances, you hear what I'm saying?" Bobby bragged. "She only 14, but man, she looks so good, everybody thinks she 18. Darcy felt as if a bolt of electricity had gone through her. Was Bobby talking about Jamie? He had to be. She was the only middle school girl Darcy ever saw hanging with Bobby and his friends. There was always loud music blasting from Bobby's car, and guys leaning out, picking on kids they would spot on the sidewalk. Jamie was vulnerable. After all, Bobby was good-looking and older, and she had to be the girl dancing to the tune he was piping, stealing for him. That was bad enough, but how soon would it be before she was in the car during a drive-by shooting or something? Last year, a pair of older kids convinced a 15-year-old girl to shoot another driver as part of a gang initiation. Now she was facing a murder charge as an adult. When Darcy got home from school, she fed Grandma her pudding, then waited for Jamie. Darcy could not even open her books and start her homework until she talked to her sister. Mom had to rush to the hospital to make a staff meeting before her shift began. Everybody at the hospital was jittery about new cutbacks ever since the hospital hired a new administrator who promised to raise profits. Alone in the apartment, Darcy looked out the window and waited for her sister. Jamie was late. Finally, an hour later than usual, Bobby Wallace dropped her off in his red Nissan. When Jamie came into the apartment, Darcy confronted her. "What are you doing hanging out with those people? They're too old for you. You're only in middle school. Stick with kids your own age, not punks from Bluford." Jamie threw down her backpack and glared at Darcy. "They're not punks. They're my friends. The kids at middle school are stupid." "Bobby Wallace is trouble," Darcy snapped. "He is not," Jamie almost screamed. "Jamie, be quiet or you'll wake up Grandma," Darcy warned. "Who cares?" Jamie shouted all the louder. "She doesn't know if she's awake or sleeping anyway. And you don't know anything about Bobby Wallace. Everybody likes him, and there are girls who die for a chance to be in my shoes with Bobby. But he likes me best, and you're just jealous because you're a sophomore in high school and you don't even have a boyfriend. You need to get a life and leave me alone." Darcy felt the blood rushing to her face. She was handling this all wrong. Instead of helping Jamie, she was making her angry, which would drive her even closer to Bobby. Forcing her anger away, Darcy took a deep breath and stared at her sister. "Jamie, are you stealing stuff for Bobby?" Darcy demanded. "Stealing?" Jamie repeated in a high-pitched tone. Darcy could always tell when Jamie was lying. Her voice went up an octave and trembled. "Why would I do that? Who says such a stupid thing?" "Bobby was telling his friend at school today that he had you wrapped around his finger and that you stole for him. He was laughing about it, and the other guy was laughing too. Bobby said you were just a stupid little kid and it was fun to make you dance to his tune." Darcy changed what Bobby had said a little, but she kept the main point. She felt bad for hurting Jamie, but she had to do it to help her sister. Jamie stood there, a strange, terrible look on her face, as if her heart had been stopped. She turned ashen. You're lying. Lying. Bobby wouldn't have said those things. He likes me. He loves me." Darcy was absolutely sure now that Jamie was the girl Bobby was talking about. "Do you want to get in trouble and go to jail because of some lousy punk who just soon dish you as kiss you? Jamie, you should have heard them laughing about that CD you stole, about how stupid you were. Bobby said you'd do anything for him because you were a puppet on a string, Darcy said. Jamie clamped her hands over her ears and screamed, "Stop it! I hate you! I hate you!" She turned and ran into her room, slamming the door so forcefully that the apartment walls shook. In a second's time, loud rap music thumped through the apartment. "And it's you I blamed for making this noise, for causing this pain, for taking my voice. And I needed to stop, like a tired old clock, before my body drops and my mind pops." Darcy stood outside the closed door of her sister's room. Mingled with the blasts of furious music were other sounds, loud sobs, things striking the walls, the sound of shattering glass. Chapter 3. "Who's that crying? Oh, my Lord, who's that crying?" Grandma moaned. Darcy rushed to Grandma's room. She was trying to get out of bed by